One of the types of entries you can create would be a link to either another ProcessBook workbook or a ProcessBook display. It's very similar to the buttons you may have worked with earlier. So let's go ahead and create this. Now, if you recall, just a minor point, but if you want to make this next linked entry on a same level as the current one, well, if you've selected the current one, the current display, it's going to go ahead and insert that on top of the current one. In this case, I think I'd like to put it underneath that. So what I can do is I can just click up here, and that will deselect this My Display. Something to keep in mind. I know sometimes people find it hard to deselect that. You just basically have to go anywhere outside of that display entry area. So I will deselect that, and now I'll choose File, New. And this is going to be a ProcessBook entry. Now the type of entry we're going to choose this time is going to be a link, but then more specific than just any link, we're going to do a link to either a ProcessBook file or a ProcessBook display. Let's first go to a ProcessBook file itself, a PIW file. I'll go ahead and choose ProcessBook file, and I'll choose PyDemo. This is that demonstration ProcessBook you'll find in this path right here. Now, when I choose this, as with the other entries, I can choose the level. I'm going to choose this to be a level 2. And since we have nothing selected here, that should appear at the bottom of this current page. We can choose either absolute or relative path. And I would suggest using relative path. That's the default. Now that way, if you've got links to other displays and ProcessBooks that are all within the same directory structure, if you move that entire directory structure, you'll preserve these links. I'll go ahead and choose OK. As you can see, it's gone ahead and initiated that action. It's also created the display right there. Now when I did this, I neglected to give it a name. Let me go ahead and give it the proper name. Instead of calling this untitled, let's go with a link to PyDemo.piw. And of course, that's just a label. Here's the actual link. Now, as we've seen before, if we have that asterisk, it means it hasn't been saved. So let me go ahead and save this. That eliminates that asterisk. And now, if I double click on this in run mode, we will go out and launch that PyDemo.piw. And what we did so far is we launched an entire ProcessBook display, the PIW file. What if you decide you only wanted really to see this main column bottom? Well, you could have done that a separate way. In fact, let's do it this way. Let me show you. Let me just delete what's in here right now. I'll go ahead into build mode, press the delete key, and let me add that back, this time as a link only to this main column bottom display. There's no reason we couldn't have both of them there at the same time. I just want to demonstrate an alternative way to have done this. I'll do File, New. This is going to be a ProcessBook entry. It's going to be a link, but now when we browse, we're going to be looking for displays, not the ProcessBook files. Now when you're choosing displays, you can look in a variety of places. If I wanted to look just in My Documents, it would just find those displays that are organized within the PIW files in My Documents. Or I could go out and browse for that directory path I just described, Program Files, PyPC. This is under ProcBook, and under ProcBook it's under EN. By choosing this, it's going to look at PyDemo.piw and find all of the displays within there. So I could simply say main column bottom from here. But actually what I'd like to do is show you one more way of doing this. If your ProcessBook file is already open, when you do this link, you can specify that you're going to browse for all the open ProcessBooks. So let me do that right now. Do File, New. This is going to be a ProcessBook entry. It's a linked entry, and we're going to browse for displays. So instead of looking for someplace specific, I'm going to choose all or the open ProcessBooks. As you can see, there are a couple of open ProcessBooks. I'm going to choose PyDemo. If we do a search, it finds all of those. Of course, I can restrict this using a substring search. Now we just find main column bottom. I'll go ahead and say OK. I'll put this on a level 2. I'll say let's do link to main column display. And there's the display. Now the interesting thing about this is when you invoke this, let me go ahead and close this PyDemo. When you invoke this link, it's going to launch both the containing PIW file and the display. So when I double click on this in run mode, as you can see, it launched the PIW file itself. Now here it is, it minimizes it, PyDemo, and then it launches the specific target display. And of course that's actually only going to happen if you are launching something that is contained in a PIW file. If you were to alternately go out and link this to a brand new display, a PDI file, that kind of a link display of course would just open up that new display. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. This is going to be a link, and in this case I'll link for all displays. I'm going to look in my documents. That's where I saved all the things that we've worked with already. Let me go ahead and remove this substring search main. There we go. And if you recall, these are the things that we did earlier in class. So I'll go ahead and search for exercise 4. I'll say that this is the name of the link is link to exercise 4. You'll notice the icon that appears when you make these types of links. Yeah, there's the actual display. And here's our link to our main column bottom. Here's our link to exercise 4. Now let me save my work. So as I demonstrated earlier, that brings up both the display and the workbook. This brings up just the display. And did you notice when I open it this way, it does minimize that pydemo.piw. When you close the display, it's going to close that workbook as well.